Quiet Saturday afternoon. Seems like people in my building have gone out nice and quiet. I went out earlier, got back by 11, went shopping. So I did my outdoor stuff today. Don't feel the need to go out. Here I am, all alone, nice and quiet. Whole day to myself, even shaved. Good time to turn on the microphone and put down some thoughts. Boy, there's some crazy people. Crazy people. There are a lot of crazy people in this world. Crazy people who are crazy and stupid and crazy, and so stupid that they don't realize that they're stupid and they think they're smart, and they're so crazy they don't realize that they're crazy, and they're crazy and stupid. Oh my goodness. There's this forum on OkCupid, and these people are crazy. Even some people that I knew from 3 years ago and I thought they were okay. They're crazy. They're insane. And they're not very bright. And they're really stupid. And they can be absolutely dead wrong, and absolutely certain that they're dead right. It's incredible. And they have this boogeyman that they built up. Some guy that was on at the same time as me 3 years ago. And he was accused of supposedly stalking some other female member or something. The accusations are never really spelled out. They just assume everybody's supposed to know all these details of something that happened 2 or 3 years ago. And and the thing that they presume, the presumption of guilt until proven innocence, and even it's amazing. So here's where like this guy that for some reason some crazy people about 3 or 4 weeks ago decided that I must be that crazy. I must be that person that they turn into the boogeyman, even though I used to be on at the same time as him 3 years ago. And some of these people, they were there then too. They knew we were different people, but they're crazy. And for the last 3 or 4 weeks, they've been saying, I'm him. I'm the boogeyman. Well, the actual guy that they're worried about, he was this horrible person because he stalked this woman or something. He actually came back. He's on there. He's not low key. He's not making a big deal. But he's there. He's there to be seen. And there's this other guy who knows that I'm not him. And he's posted the link. He said, look, this guy is not that guy. They're two different people. They're not the same at all. Their style isn't even of writing isn't even the same. And he said, here's the real guy, the real boogeyman guy that you're all supposed to be paranoid about. Here's his profile. Here it is. And he gives the links, and you click on there, and there's the guy that they're all supposed to be so freaked out about. He's the demon. He's the devil. They're so worried about demonizing that they're paranoid that that everybody else is a fake puppet account of him, which is why they got the notion that I was one of his puppet sock accounts. And there he is. He's right there at the same. And so people, do they click that and they say, oh yeah, gosh, gee, yeah, that is the same guy. I guess we were wrong about this guy who obviously isn't him, because there he is. No, there he is, the very guy that right under their noses, right in their faces. The guy that they claim that they're so paranoid about. He's so horrible and evil, and they're worried that everybody else, they have to sniff out who's him in disguise. There he is right in their faces, and they say, no, that's not him. We know who it is. It's this guy, pointing at me. That's how fucking crazy and twisted people are. And there's so many parallels for instance, politically, parallels. basically, this guy, they call him Swirly. This guy Swirly, they're accusing me of being Swirly. He's the boogeyman. It's exactly like Bin Laden. Bin Laden's the boogeyman. And they're so certain that Bin Laden was guilty of 9/11. Never had a trial. Never even had a fake kangaroo trial like Saddam Hussein had. Never even got to trial. But hundreds of millions of moronic Americans are convinced, they're absolutely certain, they know he did it. Never went to trial. Presumption of guilt. And when people don't understand, people really don't understand that the presumption of innocence until guilt is proven. The presumption of innocence is one of the cornerstones of what we call due process. And due process is the foundation of what we call a supposedly free society. These things were created deliberately. You're shooting off fireworks about how great July 4th is because we declared independence and we created a new nation, the United States of America, with our Constitution and this and that. But all you care about is the fucking fireworks. You don't care about what the Constitution actually stands for. The principles that were built into it so that we would have a society of justice and freedom where a person could actually live without constant fear and intimidation that they're going to be accused of something they never did and carted off and shot for something they never even did in the first place. That's what happens when you have presumption of guilt. Somebody points a finger, says, he did it. That's good enough for us. We don't need a trial. We don't need facts. We just need a finger pointing. And that's good enough. We'll get them. We'll lynch them. We'll string them up. We'll stone them. We'll burn them out. Tar and feathers. One of the foundations of our supposedly so-called free society, that we're supposedly so proud that we have to go around the world imposing our freedom, bringing our freedom to these unfree societies. They're not free. They need America's military to come in to shove our freedom down their throats. But do you even have any conception of what this so-called freedom is supposed to be about? Do you understand the principle of presumption of innocence until guilt is proven? Not one slightest fucking bit. It's a lynch mob mentality. Points the finger and go get that person. Guilt doesn't have to be proven. It's and then the burden of proof is on the accused to prove his innocence. That's the witch hunt mentality, the Inquisition mentality that we're supposed to, from Salem of 1690. The Salem witch trials, where a person was presumed guilty, and 100 years later, they said, no, we don't want that kind of superstitious mob mentality. We want to create a constitution where people can actually live in a society where there is actual justice, where you can actually defend yourself against false allegations and accusations. But the witch hunt mentality persists now probably more than ever, probably even more than in 1690. The mentality of 2012 is this witch hunt, lynch mob, Inquisition mentality, where all that you have to do is point a finger at an accused boogeyman, and that's good enough. Meanwhile, you're shouting about how great America is because it's the land of the free, but you don't have the first foggiest notion of what that freedom actually is supposed to mean. And they're so fucking delusional with their psychotic paranoia of these phantom boogeymen that they create. This boogeyman of Swirly on OkCupid, the Swirly boogeyman, is such a phantom in these people's deluded minds that when the actual Swirly is presented right in their faces, they shake their heads and they say, oh no, that couldn't be. He's not evil enough. He's not grotesque enough. He needs bigger horns and a pointed tail. He looks too normal. Now, he doesn't have the pitchfork. And they have to find somebody else to call Swirly, because the actual Swirly isn't swirly enough for them. So, here's a few thoughts for you from me on today, a quiet Saturday afternoon. People are fucking retarded, and they don't understand. It's basically like the psychotic, like the truly criminally insane psych ward. The patients have gotten the keys, or even whoever the nurses and the doctors and whoever the wardens are in a psych ward have just walked off and left the doors open, and these crazy freaks have come out and they say, okay, well, we're running this institution, we're in charge now. That's really what's going on. They're so insane, but damn it. Don't you hate when you're about to say something and you forgot the train of thought? Yeah, these crazy people are really crazy. And this is the train of thought. Okay, and it's nice when you get back on track. What they don't understand is, they say, well, if you're not swirly, why don't you just prove it to us? Prove that you're not swirly. In other words, you've been accused of being guilty, and it's your burden of proof to prove that you're innocent. You're presumed guilty until proven innocent. And people say, well, why don't you do that? Why don't you just give in to their demands? And that's precisely what it is. It's about giving in to the demands of kidnappers or hijackers, what you would call terrorists. Now, when you get in the situation with, we talk about terrorists holding people hostage, and you say, well, you shouldn't give in to their demands because it won't stop, and that's true. It's not going to stop. As amply demonstrated by the fact that when the actual boogeyman, the actual swirly character that they're so freaked out about, is presented right in front of their faces, they shake their hands and they say, no, we don't believe that's not really him. It's not evil enough. We don't believe. You can't, first of all, even if you think that you can give in to the demands of these psychotic hijackers or kidnappers holding you hostage, it's never going to, the situation's never going to end if you give in to their demands. Because, first of all, it never ends the witch hunt. The most that you can hope is that you'll get them off your trail. But it won't stop the witch hunt from going on. They'll continue looking for swirly under every bed and chair and piece of furniture and under every staircase. Everywhere, every corner, they're constantly looking for their phantom boogeyman swirly. And just, even if you could prove to them your innocence, if you could somehow convince most of them that you're not swirly, that'll just leave them to go turning around and pointing the finger at somebody else, looking for the next swirly, the next alleged swirly. And what's been demonstrated is, even if you decided that was the proper course to do, to try to prove your innocence, to prove that you're not the boogeyman they're after, even if you decided to do that and you did your best, you're still not going to convince them all. There's some of them are so psychotic and delusional and paranoid that no matter what you do, no matter what demands you try to give into, and go along with them saying, well, do this now and do that to prove to us that you're innocent, that you're not him. There are some of them that are so whacked out that nothing you do will ever actually convince them that you're not the boogeyman that they've made their minds up that you must be. So there's a lot, on a number of levels, why it's wrong to give in to these crazy, psychotic, hijacking terrorists is what they are. They're terrorizing. They don't realize that they're the terrorists. They're the one. No, they're the ones. They're anti-terrorists, and it's such a parallel to what goes on in the politically in this society, where we have to. 9/11 was done by terrorists, which I agree with. I agree the so-called 9/11 was committed, carried out, and planned and arranged by terrorists. But the question is, who were those terrorists? And I believe that those terrorists were the people claiming to be the United States government. Those were the terrorists. But I do agree that they were terrorists in doing this. But those terrorists say, okay, you know what, this is an act of terrorism, and we know who did it, and we don't need a trial because we pointed the finger, and that's good enough because you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. Of course, you can't prove yourself innocent if you're dead, and the first thing that Bush said was, Bin Laden wanted dead or alive. So bring him in dead. That way he can't even have the opportunity to even attempt to prove his innocence. And never mind the burden of proof where it should be the government's burden to prove his guilt. No, even in the presumption of guilt. If you say wanted dead or alive, and you kill the person, then they don't even have that most meager opportunity to even stand up as Saddam Hussein did and said, your accusations are bullshit. Dead or alive. Presumption of guilt. And, the United States of America is not the terrorists when we go and kill millions of Iraqis and Afghans. We're not the terrorists. No, we're there with a righteous grievance against the terrorists who attacked us. Just like these crazy fucking people on this OkCupid forum are going around accusing everybody else of being swirly because they're in their righteous grievance against the evil swirly boogeyman, but they are the actual terrorists. So there you go. That's enough ranting about fucking morons, but it's important. It's what our world is swirling down the fucking toilet with, this crazy mentality. Just because somebody assumes a position of authority doesn't mean they're not psychotic out of their crazy mind fucking morons. And that's what we have, crazy out of their mind fucking morons calling themselves the United States government, calling themselves President Bush, calling themselves everything that we're calling ourselves, waving that fucking flag as if that makes anything okay and all right and admirable. You should be proud to be a fucking moron. But when it comes to actually understanding what freedom is all about, what the Constitution of the United States is all about, what a just society is all about, then they're completely clueless. Not only don't give a shit, but they are against it. We don't want that shit. We don't want that presumption of innocence. That's communist. Huh? Right? Communist?